Well, folks, we are finally here. The final review on Leslie Chambers' Kaiju Reviews. Took a long time to get here, but just like things in life, all good things must come to an end at some point. So let's do this. People, LP 2000 right back at you with another and pretty much the final review on Leslie Chambers' Kaiju Reviews that you saw in my intro just now. Again, it took a long time to get here, you know what I'm saying? But as I teased in my last video of the Galloping Ghost Kaiju Kobo Resin Model Kit reviews of the 2004 Angerus, Rodan, Minya, and Kamunga, I teased at the very end that pretty much the last video, at least the last review I'm going to do, will be something involving the last Heisei film. You know what I'm saying? The final film from the Heisei period. And as you can see right now, I'm trying to go out on a high note. Yes, yes, yes. So you know what? Let's stop procrastinating and let's dive headfirst into this awesome X Plus double figure review. And today we take a look at the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line of the Real Master collection of Godzilla's final opponent in the illustrious Heisei series from 1995 with the perfect and aggregate form of the awesome Destoroyah. And as you can see, I have both forms here. Oh my God, both figures here, and they are absolutely amazing. Oh my God, yes they are. Oh my God, just amazing pieces. They are absolutely amazing pieces. S Plus did a good job on these, a great job in fact, but we'll get into that momentarily. But before I go any further, let me give a huge shout out and thank you to 3 special people making this video happen. Of course, my beautiful wife, Sandra. She helped me actually get the perfect form of Destoroyah. This is actually my Christmas gift, you know, from her this year. So thank you very much, babe. I actually bought it through AJ Russo from Kaiju Live, one of my most best friends in the entire world. So thank you so much, AJ, for that. And I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Eric Stolt because he pointed me in the right in the right direction for me to get the Aggregate Destroyer, you know what I mean? So thank you to Sandra, Eric, and AJ for making this video happen, you know what I'm saying? This is so cool. Now, you know how we do things around here. Let's get up close and personal with the packaging before we get into the figures themselves of both Destroyers. And here's a picture of the boxes, you know what I'm saying? And again, this is from the Real Masters collection. So these pieces are made of poly resin. So the boxes are actually bigger than what you would think they would be, quite frankly, because they come in a big styrofoam box and they come in pieces, you know what I'm saying? With the Perfect form, it came, you know, the main body, you know, his tail in 2 separate pieces, from what I understand, the 2 smaller wings on the lower part of his body, his hands, his head, as well as the 2 big wings, you know what I'm saying? The Aggregate, kind of the same thing. You know, you have the body, the head, the tail, and the 2 long arms, you know what I'm saying? Because again, they're resin pieces, so it wouldn't be smart to X Plus to ship these fully intact, because more likely they will break by the time they get to this destination, you know what I'm saying? But because they're resin pieces, have to be in bigger boxes, packed with styrofoam. Each piece had its own little compartment where it'll be safe from damage during transit, you know what I'm saying? And the artwork on the boxes are great, you know what I'm saying? In black and white, which is kind of unique, you know what I'm saying? It's not any colorful artwork like we've seen from X Plus in the past. Just black and white artwork of the actual figures themselves, of the Perfect form and the Aggregate form of Destroyer. And they both look great, you know what I'm saying? Real Master Collection, favorite Sculptors line, the logo of the film, Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Just awesome packaging, you know what I'm saying? The difference between the 2 boxes, well, the Aggregate form was a little bit smaller than the Perfect form's box. But on actual box themselves, it has, you know, Destroyer Perfect form for the big one, and Destroyer Aggregate form for the smaller one, you know what I'm saying? But just great artwork on the boxes. But again, it's not about the artwork, it's about the awesome figures themselves. Yes, these are so great. Now, here's the backstory about these figures and how we got them, you know what I'm saying? Now, we first got pictures, or we got the announcement basically that the Perfect form of Destroyer was coming. I want to say Winter Wonder Festival this year, back in February in Japan. And the first picture we saw of this thing, it was sitting next to an unpainted prototype figure of the X Plus Gigantic Series 2002 Godzilla from its appearance from Godzilla X Mechagodzilla. X Plus, where is that? I haven't forgot about that one, you know what I'm saying? You kind of like dragging your feet on that one, you know what I'm saying? But where is it? You know what I'm saying? Got to put an APB out on that thing. Still waiting for it, just saying. But we saw this Perfect form of Destroyer up against the 2002 Gigantic unpainted prototype, right? And before we started getting information about what exactly this Destroyer was, when I first saw that picture, I actually thought that Destroyer was actually a Gigantic Series figure. Because again, when you look at that picture up against the 2002, he is size comparable to that figure. So I thought at first that the Destroyer here, the Perfect form, was in the Gigantic Series. Come to find out it's not. Even though technically this is a huge size figure, it really is. And technically he probably could be a Gigantic considering his dimensions, but he's not. And basically what that boils down to is that Destroyer is kind of like Baalante or King Ghidorah, especially when it comes to X Plus scaling. That's why thus far we have Destroyer, King Ghidorah, Baalante, these bigger supermassive monsters that are in the films. They're in the 25 centimeter scale, you know what I'm saying? So basically, if you sit down and think about it, this Destroyer technically will be in the 30 centimeter scale, because again, the 25 centimeter Destroyer that X Plus did put out, again, it's an oversized 25 centimeter figure, and he runs neck and neck with the 30 centimeter line, even though technically it's in the 25 centimeter line, right? But with the Perfect form of Destroyer here from the favorite Sculptors line, you might as well say he's like in the 30 centimeter range, honestly, because if this thing was really truly a Gigantic, he would be basically around the same size as, let's say, the Spiral Studios MonsterVerse King Ghidorah 2019. And you know how big that figure is. As you can see here, Destroyer is big, but, you know, the Ghidorah basically towers over him. So if Destroyer was to be a Gigantic, per se, he would be the same size as the Spiral Studios MonsterVerse King Ghidorah. But technically, he's in the 30 centimeter range. Probably say 40 centimeter if you sit down and think about it. But again, it's from the favorite Sculptors line. It's from Black Dragon Studio, you know what I'm saying? An awesome model kit studio. Just as well as the aggregate form, came from the same studio, you know what I'm saying? And again, it was taken from a model kit from that studio. The actual model kit for the Perfect Form of Destoroyah, I want to say, it was a fast turnaround for X Plus to get their hands on this. Because the original kit came out, I want to say, last year or 2022. And here it is, 2023, and X Plus has already gotten their hands on it. You know what I'm saying? And it came up for pre-order, I want to say a month after we saw it at Wonderfest, I think back in March. And it got released over the summer around June or July. You know what I'm saying? Now, the aggregate form, again, both Destoroyahs in a way kind of came out of nowhere, you know, with the Perfect Form, you know, suddenly announced at Wonderfest back in February. The aggregate form, again, was even more shocking because that one was announced, I want to say, in July. It just popped up one day on the Rick site, you know what I'm saying that this thing was coming. And I think it came up for pre-order shortly thereafter that it was announced. And this thing came out, I want to say maybe October or November of this year, you know what I'm saying? And again, this is a Black Dragon Studio kit. And again, a fast turnaround for X Plus to get their hands on it because this kit was actually released in 2021. Still not a bad turnaround. Here it is, 2023, and X Plus has already gotten their hands on it, you know what I'm saying? And X Plus is not done with Black Dragon Studios. Oh my God, they did a rendition of the 1995 Godzilla. Yes, the awesome Desu Goji. You know what I'm saying? He supposedly is going to pair well with the Perfect Form of Destoroyah here. That kit, originally, that kit came out this year, 2023, but X Plus has already gotten their hands on it, and they're going to release it as a resin figure, just like the Destoroyahs here, sometime next year. I want to say maybe February or March, you know what I'm saying? And the light up looks absolutely phenomenal. Probably the best light up that they have ever done for a Brand Godzilla, you know what I'm saying? I'm hoping to get my hands on that. I didn't pre-order it, you know what I'm saying? But I'm hoping to get my hands on that. Because again, they showcased this up against the Perfect Form of Destoroyah on a recent Godzilla Store live stream. And they look so well together, you know what I'm saying? And I also hope that X Plus will also do another Black Dragon kit, you know what I'm saying? Because again, we got the Perfect Form and the Aggregate Form of Destoroyah. Black Dragon also did an awesome resin model kit of the Flying Form of Destoroyah. So you gotta know at some point, we're gonna get the Flying Form of Destoroyah. So hopefully X Plus can get their hands on that kit and put it in the favorite Sculptors line. Either way, the love that Destoroyah has been shown just this year alone, I think is absolutely great. But again, that 95 Godzilla, the Flying Destoroyah, yeah, X Plus, do that. I'm just saying, do that, you know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much the backstory behind the behind these kits here, you know what I'm saying? The studio, when they came out, when X Plus got their hands on it, all that good stuff. Now, let's see. Let's start off with, actually, the Aggregate Form of Destoroyah. Oh my God, this thing is so great. Again, when you get this piece, again, it comes in a big styrofoam box, you know, whatever. Because, again, it is made of powder resin, hence why it's in the Real Masters collection, courtesy of X Plus. You know what I'm saying? And again, it comes in pieces, you know, the big, long arms, the main body, the head, and the tail. And it's all magnetized. And they all fit into the slots of the appendages. The appendages, excuse me, fit into every slot perfectly, you know what I'm saying? So the sculpt is absolutely great. Before we go any further, let me just point out the black stand that the aggregate form comes with. And you actually put the aggregate form on top of this stand here, which is absolutely great because what it does, it suspends the figure like in midair, where actually the legs or the points of his legs are not touching any surface that you have the figure on, because again, it's resin and you don't want to, you know, have all that weight on the legs because it may break, you know what I'm saying? It may not, but you don't want to take that chance. So X Plus provided this stand where you have to put it on top of it in a certain way where it suspends the legs of the figure itself to prevent it from any future breakage if that does happen, you know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that X Plus actually did that because again, it provides more stability to the figure, you know what I'm saying? And it's a good size figure, you know what I'm saying? You see it here up against the Perfect Form, and it's half the size of the Perfect Form of Destoroyah. It is absolutely great, and when you put it up against other 30cm figures, it does pair really, really well because of the arms being so big, you know what I'm saying? And again, because of, you know, the multiple legs and the long arms and the sharp, pointy claws and stuff on this figure, I would say he's probably more delicate than the Perfect Form. So if you get this figure, please handle it with kitty gloves, you know what I'm saying? Please be very careful with it because you don't want anything to break. again, this is resin pieces. So if something does break, it's not going to be easy to put it back together again if you can't put it back together. You know what I'm saying? So please be mindful of that. But again, sculpt-wise, this is such an awesome rendition of the aggregate form of Destroyer. And actually, this is not the first aggregate form of Destroyer that X Plus has done. A long time ago, when they brought out the X Plus 25cm Destroyer, I want to say back in 2015, the rig option of that figure was actually a mini replica version of the aggregate form of Destroyer. And ironically, that too was made of resin, you know what I'm saying? And I think Destroyer came out, like I said, late 2015, I want to say December. But I think if you got the rig came like at a later date. I think they didn't have the rigs ready in time when the main figure was ready to ship out. So I think the aggregate form of Destroyer came out just a little bit later after the main figure of Destroyer. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, ever since then, that has been the one rig option that I've always wanted to get for myself. You know what I'm saying? It's something about that form of Destroyer I absolutely love. You know what I'm saying? It's creepy looking, you know what I'm saying? And their rendition at the time of that mini replica that X Plus did, again, that was so cool. And it's one of the most sought after rig options out there, quite frankly. There was one sitting on my Darake for the past 2 or 3 months. And you know what? I came this close. I came this close of pulling the trigger and getting that, you know what I'm saying? But again, Eric Stolt pointed me in the right direction. I was able to get my hands on this one, which I think is actually the better option. It is bigger, it is better, better detail, you know what I'm saying? But again, that's not the first time that S Plus has taken a mini rig option and eventually put it in a bigger scale, you know what I'm saying? The flying form of Hedra, originally that was a mini rig accessory that came with the 30cm Hedra a long time ago, right? They put out a mini replica flying version, right? And ironically, we eventually got a flying version of Hedra, ironically, in the favorite Sculptors line, you know what I'm saying? Or how about the X Plus 25cm Kamunga from 1967? The rig option of that figure came with a web base that Kamunga is on top of, but the rig option had like a little mini Kamacuras figure embedded into the base, all webbed up. And eventually, we did get our hands on a full-fledged 25cm Kamacuras figure. So again, the aggregate form of Destroyer, again, wasn't the only rig option that eventually made its way into a full-fledged figure in another line, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's absolutely great. Again, the detail on Destroyer, oh God, the aggregate form of Destroyer, you know what I'm saying? The long arms, everything, sculpt-wise, paint job-wise. This thing is so great. The tail, oh my God, it's great. Oh, and here's another thing about the tail. Both figures actually come with a black piece of small felt. I think it's rubber felt that you can put underneath the base of the tails of both Destroyers here. Because again, because these things are made of resin and it does have pointy edges all over the figure, you know what I'm saying? The felt is there just in case the tail comes down, and you can put the base of the tail on top of that felt for both figures so it won't damage the figure and it won't damage whatever you have the figure sitting on. So again, kind of like the stand underneath the aggregate form that S Plus provided, I thought that was a nice touch of S Plus to do that, you know what I'm saying? But again, the aggregate form looks absolutely great. Here's another trick that I found out just now. That actually, if you know what, if you actually take these two arms off, you actually kind of have a juvenile form of Destroyer. Because remember, we have the smaller juvenile forms of Destroyer that attack people in the film, you know what I'm saying? Then you have the bigger one that evolved, where all the mini ones came together and made a giant aggregate form of Destroyer, which is this one right here. And basically, the juvenile form and the aggregate form is not really much of a big difference sculpt-wise. Really, the biggest difference is the aggregate form has these two big giant arms, you know what I'm saying, on the left and right side, you know what I'm saying? But again, because these pieces are magnetized, you can take them off, you know what I'm saying? And actually, you know what? If you position the figure where the back is away from you, where you can't see it, where you can't see the empty appendages, you know, or whatever, or the empty ports, I should say, he kind of does come across like the juvenile form of Destroyer. So you had that option as well. So I think that's so cool. But moving forward, more likely, I will have the two giant arms here because it looks absolutely great. The face, woo! Oh God, that face. Again, the perfect form of Destroyer looks creepy too. But I have to say, the aggregate form, it's kind of like a -1 situation. If you see -1, you know what I'm saying? Because we all know that Godzilla has two forms in that movie. There's the Oda Ala version, and then there's the -1 version. And I will argue that the Odo Island version of Godzilla actually looks creepier than the bigger one. I kind of feel the same way about the aggregate form of Destroyer up against the perfect form. Don't get me wrong, the perfect form looks evil, devilish, satanic, all that good stuff. But there's something about the aggregate form that's a little bit more jarring, in my opinion. But either way, you're not wrong for finding one creepy over the other one. But overall, presentation-wise, size-wise, sculpt-wise, paint job-wise, the aggregate form is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm so glad to have this in my collection. Now let's go towards the perfect form. The big guy. And oh my God, this is so great. Now, before we go any further, I have to point out that, honestly, I initially passed on these figures. You know what I'm saying? I originally was not going to get them when they came up for pre-order. First and foremost, honestly, even though I enjoy Destoroyah, I love Destoroyah, you know what I'm saying? I do admittedly have a love-hate relationship with him. Like, I love his design. I love his evolution. I love what he can do, his capabilities. But I'm not a big fan on how he's utilized in the film of Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. You know what I'm saying? I kind of wish he could have been utilized better. I don't like how he's treated in the film, or at least how he's mistreated, if you ask me. But I'll get into that momentarily. But again, that was one of the main reasons why I passed on these. And on top of that, when I saw that this thing was coming, the perfect form, and I saw that he was gigantic size, I was hoping that he would scale well with my gigantic 95, but after doing the math, I even knew before I even saw the figure getting in people's hands that he would not scale well with the gigantic 95. You know what I'm saying? So that was another reason why I passed on this, you know, whatever. But my great friends, Eric Stoke, Marcellus Winters, they both came to me because we talk like on a weekly basis. And they both came to me and said, hey, look, I don't know what you're thinking, but you passing on these is probably one of the biggest regrets you're going to have if you don't correct that. And because they kept on telling me over and over and over again how awesome these pieces were, especially the perfect form. He was like, man, you got to get it. You got to get it. And I was like, okay, well, let me see. And again, I kind of written off in my mind that I was going to be able to get them. But again, thanks to AJ and thanks to Eric, I was able to get these two figures, you know what I'm saying? But at first, I wasn't too sold on it. Now I have the perfect form right here in front of me. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Marcellus, for convincing me. Because this thing is absolutely great. Because again, I do wish that it was a little bit taller. You know what I'm saying? Because he is somewhat in a stylized pose with his legs spread out like this. You know, he's in a menacing, threatening pose like this. Because trust me, Destroyer didn't do this in the movie. He did not do this in the movie. He wasn't as expressive like this in the actual movie because the suit was so big and it was so stiff. Like, you barely see Destroyer walk in the film. And when you do see him walk, his thighs are rubbing together that create friction that you actually can smell bacon from it. But again, you may see Destroyer be more expressive like in video games like the PS4 Godzilla the game, or maybe Godzilla Save the Earth. We've seen Destroyer more expressive on those games, but we didn't see it in the movie. But I actually enjoy that Black Dragon actually has him in this stance right here because it makes him look a lot more threatening, you know what I'm saying? And again, the pose looks absolutely great, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like the aggregate form, you know, whatever. The pointy, just the edges on this, on the spikes on this thing looks absolutely great, you know what I'm saying? It does command a presence because it is so big. Oh my God, and again, how everything flowed together in terms of its appendages, you know, the tail, the smaller wings, the bigger wings, his hands as well as his head just came together seamlessly, you know what I'm saying? And I see these figures as actual game changers, quite frankly. After this, there's no cut to turning back. S Plus, you gotta get better and better and better. Because I think this is the pinnacle of what they have done as far as like favorite Sculptors line pieces that they have adapted into their own, you know what I'm saying? You would think that this were actually the original kits and a professional like Marcellus Winters or Steve Savaggioli or David Abdopko got the kit, put it all together, painted it, and here's what you have. But actually X Plus made these, you know what I'm saying? So again, there's no turning back at this point because again, I see these figures as game changers, you know what I'm saying? But the overall sculpt of Destroyer is just like, you cannot take a bad shot of this figure, no matter how bad a photographer you may be. Even the worst photographer can take some epic shots of these pieces. You know what I'm saying? Especially the perfect form. But again, from top to bottom, sculpt-wise, paint job-wise, the perfect form is absolutely great. And the perfect form comes with the extra bonus. It actually comes with the light up in his head. And actually, Marcellus, he got the figure over the summer. And actually, when he got the figure, he really didn't know that the figure came with the actual light up, you know what I'm saying? But it does come with the light up where his eyes, as well as his horn here, actually lights up, and it looks exactly how his eyes and horn lit up in the film, you know what I'm saying? Just the colors pop out on the eyes and the horn when you have it activate, you know what I'm saying? Just an added bonus, you know, whatever. So that looks absolutely great. So from top to bottom, sculpt-wise, paint job-wise, the perfect form, in my opinion, appropriately, is called the perfect form, right? In my opinion, it's perfect. It is perfect. The same thing can be said about the aggregate form. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? Up close and personal with these awesome pieces. Again, I'm so glad to finally have these in my collection, even though it took some convincing on Marcellus and Eric's part to get these to me, or for me to want to add these into my collection, but I'm glad that they did. It's great to have friends like that, you know what I'm saying, that kind of turn your, to change your mind on certain things. I'm glad they did, especially in regards to these pieces, because more likely, you're probably looking at one of the figures of the year. If not X plus, overall, you know what I'm saying? Because again, a case can be made for the aggregate form as well as the perfect form, and you're not wrong for choosing one as the overall figure of the year. But I'll let the Monster with Attitude crew handle that. Good luck with that, boys. With all the great stuff that came out this year, the Spiral Burning Godzilla 2019, the Spiral GMK, you know what I'm saying, the Destroyers here, the Favorite Sculptors Line 74 Godzilla, you know what I'm saying, just awesome stuff that came out this year. Good luck trying to figure out who will be the overall figure of the year. You know what I'm saying? So that is great. Now, again, this is from the Favorite Sculptors line. And let's do two size comparisons before we get up out of here. And the first size comparison, I'm going to bring in pretty much all the other Favorite Sculptors line figures that I have in my collection, courtesy of X Plus, in a size comparison. And let's see how they pair up with these two awesome newest additions to the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line. So let's go with the first size comparison with all the Favorite Sculptors line pieces I have in my collection right now. Okay, folks, here we are with the first size comparison, or should I say X Plus Favorite Sculptors line size comparison. And this is pretty much a good chunk of all the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line pieces I have in my collection. Now, this is not everything. I do have a couple pieces that I do have, like the gigantic 1954 Godzilla, or the Favorite Sculptors line Rodan 1956, you know what I'm saying? Or the walking Favorite Sculptors line 1962 Godzilla. But again, as I was putting everything together here in the shot, I couldn't fit those in there. So this would have to do moving forward for the point I'm trying to make. So let's go from left to right with these awesome figures, courtesy of the Favorite Sculptors line, taken from awesome resin or vinyl model kits from awesome Great Model Kit Studios. To the far left, that's actually the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line. 1974 Mechagodzilla from Monster Maker 28. Came out earlier this year. Next to him is, of course, his main opponent from the film, Godzilla 1974, again, taken from Monster Maker 28. Above them is, of course, the Flying Hedra that I mentioned earlier. That's from Resin Chef. And, of course, above him, next to him, you have the two main awesome monsters of the hour, the perfect and aggregate form of Destroyer, courtesy of Black Dragon Studios. Below the aggregate form, that's the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line, GMK Baragon from Monster Maker 28. Next to him, that's the Favorite Sculptors line, Crawling Varan. I want to say that's a size OK kit. Above him, that is the original Gamera, 1965. I think that's the size OK kit as well. Above him is, of course, the GMK Godzilla and Mothra, of course, taken from Monster Maker 28. And last, and certainly but not least, the figure of the year 2022 with the awesome Favorite Sculptors line, Godzilla vs. Ebirah Battling Set. Oh my God, this is so great. And I have to say that, again, I would say that the Favorite Sculptors line is like maybe my second favorite line of collectibles from X Plus. Y'all know the Gigantics is my favorite. It's my #1. Oh my God, I love the Gigantics. But I would have to say, like, if I had to name a close second, for a long time it was the 30 centimeters. But I have to say, considering all the great kits that X Plus has adapted into the Favorite Sculptors line, I have to say that the Favorite Sculptors line is now my second favorite line of collectibles, courtesy of X Plus. And again, considering what they have done here with both Destroyers, again, these are game changers in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because again, the perfect form of Destroyer, you might as well consider that a 30cm figure. So you never know. Maybe next year, we might not only get the flying form of Destroyer, courtesy of Black Dragon that I mentioned earlier, but now they probably might do a 30cm King Ghidorah. You never know. Again, with these awesome figures, there is no going back. You know what I'm saying? They have to get better because I think, again, the Destroyers are the pinnacle of what they have done thus far. Again, you would think these were professionally made personally by an awesome builder and painter. You know what I'm saying? But you're probably wondering, how would I rank them? Now, I'm not going to rank every single one of the favorite Sculptors line because that would take too much time. We ain't got the kind of time on our hands right now. I will tell you my top 5. I'll tell you my top 5, and there are in this shop, believe it or not. Whew, this is going to be hard, but okay, here we go. Number 5, I would have to say number 5 will go to the Aggregate form of Destroyer. Yeah, that thing is great. That thing is so great. Number 4 will probably be the favorite Sculptors line GMK Baragon and Mothra set. Oh my God, I think that set is absolutely phenomenal. Hopefully they'll reissue that at some point. But again, those two figures in particular, oh my God, just completes the lineup of GMK so well. So that would be number 4. Number 3 would probably be the 1974 Godzilla from Monster Maker 28. That would be number 3. That thing is great, so awesome. You know what I'm saying? We waited a long time for that guy, to be honest with you. Number 2. This is tough. This is tough. The Godzilla and Emperor set. That would be number 2. Oh my God, it's so hard. It's so hard. That would be number 2, the favorite Sculptors line Emperor and Godzilla set. And of course, number 1, yes, Eric, yes, Marcellus, you are absolutely right. The favorite Sculptors line Perfect Form of Destroyer. That is my top favorite Sculptors line X Plus release of all time. That's my top 5. Number 5, the Aggregate form of Destroyer. Number 4, the GMK Baragon and Mothra set. Number 3, the favorite Sculptors line 1974 Godzilla. Number 2, the Godzilla vs. Emperor set. And number 1, the Perfect Form of Destroyer. Why don't you let me know in the comment section, what are your favorite X Plus favorite Sculptors line pieces? Or how would you rank them? Let me know in the comment section so we can go back and forth a little bit. But for the time being, this is my top 5. So X Plus to top Destroyer, you got to come with something bigger and better. Not trying to say you can't do it, but for right now, in my opinion, the Perfect Form of Destroyer is, in my opinion, the absolute best figure that is in the X Plus favorite Sculptors line right now. So that's it with the first size comparison. So let's go with the final size comparison. You know what? These figures, or these Monster Destroyer, are from the 1995 awesome finale film of the Heisei series, Godzilla vs. Destroyer. So let me bring in pretty much all the collectibles I have from that film as well in this final size comparison. So let's do that, ladies and gentlemen, right now. Okay, folks, here we are with the final size comparison, and yeah, pretty much all the collectibles I have from this epic movie of 1995's Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Oh, these pieces are so great. You know what I'm saying? And as you can see, I'm somewhat of a fan of this movie. And honestly, you know what? I would love to add a Super X3 into my collection. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's my least favorite Super X out of all of them. But I would love to add a Super X3 into my collection. I don't know how or where I'm going to find one, but hopefully I can track one down so I can put it with this setup here, you know what I'm saying? But these pieces are great. So let's go from left to right with the far left with the X Plus 25cm standard edition of the Final Form of Destroyer that came out late 2015, as I mentioned earlier. Next to him, that's the actual Toho Blu-ray of the movie of Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Next to him is the X Plus Death for Real Standard Edition of Destroyer. Above him is one of the Men in the Hour, of course, the favorite Sculptors line Aggregate Form of Destroyer. Above him is the favorite Sculptors line Perfect Form of Destroyer. Next to him is, of course, the original Gigantic 95, the X Plus Gigantic Series Destoroyah, the first Gigantic I ever got for myself, excuse me. Of course, next to him, that is the original 30cm 1995 Godzilla. Next to him, that's the Rick exclusive 30cm Rebirth 95 Godzilla. And of course, down at the bottom in the foreground, that is the actual Bandai of Godzilla Jr. So again, great pieces. Oh my God. And as you can see in the background, again, one of the reasons why I passed on both Destroyers earlier this year, because again, especially in terms of the perfect form, I wanted him to pair well with the Gigantic 95, right? But as you can see here, the 95 Gigantic Godzilla towers over Destroyer. Even though, you know, technically Destroyer is bigger with the wings, but that's not how it should be. Because again, Destroyer was, I won't say twice as big as Godzilla, but he was substantially bigger than Godzilla in the film. So again, he doesn't match well with the Gigantic 95, the perfect form of Destroyer I'm talking about. However, again, Black Dragon Studios did whip up a 40cm sculpt of the 95 Godzilla. And again, X Plus will be doing sometime next year. Hopefully I can get my hands on that. But if I can't get my hands on that, in the meantime, the 30cm 95 Godzilla here, I think does pair well with Destroyer. Now, it is not absolutely perfect. Destroyer is a little bit bigger than what he should be. Kind of like the Gigantic was, you know. But I think you can get away with the 30cm 95 up against the perfect form of Destroyer here. Because again, technically, this Destroyer is technically in a 30cm scale. Because again, Destroyer is one of those bigger, oversized monsters. You know what I'm saying? So I think actually the 30cm 95 actually pairs well up against the perfect form of Destroyer. And ironically, in a weird twist of events, the perfect form may not be size comparable with the Gigantic 95, but actually, you know what? The aggregate form, he actually is in perfect scale, in my opinion, to the Gigantic 95s. Because remember, in the film, during that small part during the final battle, when basically Destroyer dissolves himself into multiple smaller forms, and he used that divide and conquer strategy on Godzilla, where multiple forms start attacking Godzilla all at once. If you look at that scene, you can tell that the aggregate forms are pretty much half the size of Godzilla there. So actually, that's like the same size between the two figures here. So in a weird way, in a weird coincidence, even though I wanted the perfect form to be size comparable with the Gigantic, actually the aggregate form is size comparable. And I'm actually fine with that. And the 30cm, in my opinion, is size comparable to the perfect form. So in a weird way, everything kind of worked out, you know, or whatever. Again, thank you to Marcellus and Eric for convincing me to go after these pieces. And thank you to AJ, my beautiful wife Sandra, for helping me making that happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's it with the final size comparison and pretty much the final review on Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews with these awesome pieces of the perfect form and aggregate form of Destroyer, courtesy of the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line World Master Collection. Yes. So let's go to the final commentary portion of the video with my final thoughts of these awesome X Plus Favorite Sculptors line aggregate form and perfect form of Destroyer in the final commentary portion of the video. So let's do that, ladies and gentlemen, right now. Okay, folks, I'm back with my final thoughts of the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line Real Master Collection, both perfect and aggregate form of Godzilla's final opponent in the illustrious Heisei series, the awesome yet but deadly Destoroyah. Oh my God, 10 out of 10. Both these figures are absolutely amazing, wonderfully sculpted, wonderfully painted. Again, you would think that these were personally painted by a master artist or sculptor, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, a David Dopko, a Steve Saragioli, a Marcellus Winters, Mark Sang-Yang, Burley Vang, John LeGrand, you know what I'm saying? So many of our great artists that we have in our community that we celebrate and uplift, right? Because they do awesome work. You would think that one of them touched these pieces. But X Plus did, you know what I'm saying? And they did a great job, and again, in terms of the paint job, putting everything together, packaging them so we can get these figures not damaged, you know what I'm saying, during transit. They did a phenomenal job with both of these awesome pieces. Oh my God, again, 10 out of 10. Again, as you saw in size comparisons earlier, you know what I'm saying, with the perfect form of Destroyer, you know, again, unless you are waiting for the upcoming 95 from the Favorite Sculptors line from X Plus, courtesy of the Black Dragon Studio, again, he will supposedly pair well, if not perfectly, with the Destroyer. But if you're getting that figure, or if you can't wait for that figure, or if you're not getting that figure, I think that, again, the 30cm 95 from X Plus pairs well with Destroyer. Now, it's not all the way perfect, because, again, Destroyer is maybe a little bit bigger than what he should be. But I think the effect is there. I think you can get away with it if you can't wait for that new 95, or if you're not getting that new 95. I think that the 30cm 95 is a great substitute, you know what I'm saying? Seeing those two together is absolutely great. Because again, with this Destroyer, with him being, you know, in a shorter stance because of his thighs being spread out like that, right? You know, even though the dimensions of this thing technically will make him a gigantic, but again, I think he falls more so in the 30 centimeter or 40 centimeter range. So again, you can get away with that 30 centimeter 95 setup moving forward, you know what I'm saying? Or again, you can put these two Destroyers together if you do have both. There's a great setup option on your hands, you know, or whatever. Or the other forms of Destroyer the S Plus has done, the 25 or the Death for Real, you know what I'm saying? Put them all together. Another great setup on your hands, excuse me. In terms of the aggregate form, again, my original idea of passing on the perfect form of Destroyer earlier this year was, again, I want him to pair with the Gigantic 95. But again, the aggregate form actually pairs better with the Gigantic 95 because, again, if you watch that scene, you see the size difference between the two monsters. And actually, that is accurate when you put this up against the Gigantic 95. Who'd have thought that? You know what I'm saying? Because, again, I wanted him to pair with the perfect form, but he ended up in a weird twist of events paired up better with the aggregate form, you know what I'm saying? Or again, you can take off the left and right big long limbs of the aggregate Destroyer, because again, they are magnetized and you could put them in and take them off at will. But again, as you saw earlier, if you take them off, then he kind of looks like the juvenile form of Destroyer. So you have that option on your hands as well. Or again, if you have, like, let's say the third form of Shin Godzilla, the 30 centimeter third form of Shin Godzilla from S Plus, or maybe the 25 centimeter Lantern version of Hedra, you know, earlier forms of evolving monsters, you can put those three together and have like a great setup on your hands, you know, or whatever. Well, how about the Bandai Godzilla Jr. that you saw earlier in the size comparisons? In a way, he does kind of pair well with the perfect form of Destroyer, and actually that figure is small enough where you can actually put that figure in one of Destroyer's hands and recreate that horrible scene of Junior getting seemingly killed by Destroyer. Honestly, that film has been out for almost 28 years, or 28 years at this point, and I've never forgiven Destroyer for that. Even when I watch it on Pluto TV, or if I happen to pop in the movie, that moment when Destroyer just grabs Junior by the neck and flies off with him and then drops him, seemingly killing him, again, I've never forgave Destroyer for that, but you can recreate that setup by putting that Bandai Jr., if you do have that, in this perfect Destroyer's hands. So you have that setup, you know what I'm saying? So again, you got some options on your hands setup-wise, which, you know, I'm thoroughly into, quite frankly, which is awesome. And again, these are two of the most standout entries that S Plus brought to us this year of 2023. Again, at the time of this recording, the Monsters with Attitude crew, they're going to determine who will be the overall S Plus figure of the year, or overall figure of the year. If you were to ask me, the top 5 that are in the running to be the S Plus figure of the year is, of course, the perfect form of Destroyer here, the aggregate form of Destroyer here. I would say the favorite Sculptors line 74 Mecha Godzilla, as well as Godzilla. They're in the running, as well as, again, this may be a controversial pick, I think the Gigantic Series Monster vs. Kong should be in the conversation. I know there are a lot of Kong haters out there that don't really like Kong, but as a figure, that was a really a great piece. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to love Kong to acknowledge that. So in my opinion, the Gigantic Kong, the Destroyers here, and the Mecha Godzilla and Godzilla 74, 4 of them are from the favorite Sculptors line. I think one of these 5 pieces will be the overall figure of the year. And if you choose either Destroyer, you're not wrong. But again, I'll let the Monster with Attitude crew handle that, you know, real soon, as a matter of fact, at the time of this recording. But again, 10 out of 10. These are so great, awesome, amazing pieces, and I can't recommend them enough. Yes, yes, yes. Now, before we get up out of here, let's talk about the monster of Destroyer. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I do have a love-hate relationship with him. You know what I'm saying? As I mentioned earlier, I dig the monster design. I dig his look. I dig his backstory. I dig his capabilities. I love how he can change his form. He has evolved into multiple forms. He's kind of like the Heisei version of Hedra. You know what I'm saying? Just weird, just out of nowhere monster that can do so much. He can evolve. He can change. He has so many weapons, and you know what I'm saying? He's a hard monster to defeat in a lot of respects, you know what I'm saying? But again, I'm more so not a fan of how he's treated or mistreated in the film of Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Now, I have always come out and said, as much as I love the film of Godzilla vs. Destroyer, I think the biggest mistake that they did was announcing, or basically building and marketing the film around the fact that Godzilla is going to die. You know what I'm saying? Now, we all knew at that point, at least, Toho made it clear that Destroyer was going to be the last film in the Heisei series to make room for, at that point, the TriStar Godzilla. Whether that was the best decision in the world or not, you know, that's still debated to this day. But that was really the plan, right? So they wanted this film to go out on an epic note and really to tie everything with the original film, quite frankly, which was also good, in my opinion. But again, in the movie, in the story, even when Destroyer appears and starts attacking people, then he evolves into a bigger, giant, more dangerous form. Again, the real threat of the movie is Godzilla's impending meltdown and death. That was the point of the movie. So it didn't matter what monster that was going to put in that spot to fight Godzilla, their character was going to suffer from it. And I thought that was a shame, because this monster was basically made and awoken by the weapon that killed the original Godzilla. So I kind of felt that that should have been built up more to really protect Destroyer more. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, Godzilla was dying anyway. So it really didn't matter what Destroyer did to him. The end result was him dying. Now, if it were up to me to protect Destroyer a little bit more, I would have kept the fact that Godzilla dies would have been a secret. I would have not disclosed that. I would have said, yes, it's going to be the final film in the Heisei series, but I would have kept that a secret, so it would have been more shocking had you gone to that film and saw right then and there that Godzilla dies, you know what I'm saying? But I would have had it where Destroyer fights Godzilla to the point and brings Godzilla to his breaking point, where basically it takes everything in Godzilla to bring him down, and as a result, Destroyer dies first, but then Godzilla dies because it took so much in him to defeat Destroyer. Kind of like what Doomsday did to Superman. Because I kind of look at Destroyer as like a kaiju version of Doomsday, where this monster just comes out of nowhere and wants to destroy every single thing. Hence why his name is Destroyer, or Destroyer in the American version. So I kind of wish that, again, as much as I love the film of Godzilla vs. Destroyer, that Destroyer was protected more. You know, that's my only really nitpick with Destroyer in the film. But as far as, like, again, his design, his look, his backstory, what he can do, how he almost brought Godzilla to the limit, the fact that he killed Junior in front of Godzilla, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that he can lay claim to the fact that he was involved with a movie that was designed to really close the series. You know, even though in hindsight, it's easy to say this in hindsight, even though we got some great, awesome films after Destroyer with the Millennium series, the Monsterverse, the current stuff with the Reiwa stuff, -1 Shin Godzilla, you know, I always look to do Destroyer. It's like, if there was going to be a final film to end Godzilla for good, I don't think you can top what happened in Destroyer. You know what I'm saying? So in a lot of ways, even though we got some great films after it, I still, in a way, in a weird way, this is how I look at it, I look at Destroyer as like the final film. And honestly, if that was the final film, as much as I love the Millennium series, GMK, the Monsterverse, and the stuff we got now, if that was the final film, if Destroyer was the final death note, if you will, of Godzilla, honestly, I would be cool with that. Because again, you can't write a better or more perfect death scenario for a character as powerful as Godzilla. And the fact that Destroyer can lay claim to that he was involved with that unique story of telling the death of Godzilla, is, in my opinion, another feather in his cap. You know what I'm saying? But again, despite my love-hate relationship with Destroyer, I am so glad and happy to have these pieces in my collection. My final 2 box days of 2023, it was very appropriate, again, since this was the final opponent for Godzilla in the Heisei series. Hence, it's my final box days for 2023. And it's on the final video, final review of my channel. Everything kind of worked out together. So again, I cannot recommend these 2 pieces enough. If you're a fan of Destroyer and a fan of the film, you owe it to yourself. Yes, they are expensive. They are expensive, but they are well worth every penny. Trust me when I say that. Yes, yes, yes. So that pretty much concludes my double figure review of the awesome S Plus Favorite Sculptors line from the Real Master Collection of the Aggregate and Perfect form of Godzilla's final opponent in the illustrious Heisei series with the awesome and deadly Destroyer. Yes, yes, yes. If you have any questions, hop it down in the comment section. Or hit me on Facebook via Leslie Chambers. We definitely go from there. Yes, once again, awesome pieces, great pieces. Again, thank you to AJ, Sandra, Eric, and Marcellus, because all y'all had a hand in me getting these things in my collection. And it's very appropriate. My last 2 box days, my last 2 figure acquisitions of the year of 2023. So I'm going out on a high on a high note here, you know what I'm saying? The fact that, again, my final two pieces I was able to acquire this year of Godzilla's final opponent in the Heisei series, and pretty much just the final review on Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews, you couldn't really ask for a better ending, in my opinion. So again, these pieces are absolutely amazing. They're awesome. They're expensive. You know, I will grant you that they are expensive. But if you're a huge fan of the film as well as these forms of Destoroyah and a fan of the monster itself, again, you owe it to yourself to go after this piece. And don't forget, the new 95 is coming up in the next few months. Hopefully they will get their hands, that's what I'm talking about, on the other Black Dragon kit of Destoroyah with the flying one. I think they will. I think it's a foregone conclusion. If they've done the Aggregate as well as the Perfect, you got to know the flying one will come at some point. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully I will get my hands on that. But again, these pieces are absolutely amazing. And quite frankly, you're probably looking at one of the overall figure of the year, especially as far as S Plus is concerned. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I think the other three that's in that conversation, as far as I'm concerned, is the Gigantic Monster vs. Kong and both 30cm Favorite Sculptors line 74, Godzilla and Mechagodzilla. I think those five are in the conversation as the top running figures to be overall S Plus figure of the year. But if the Perfect form wins, it wouldn't surprise me. If the Aggregate form wins, it wouldn't surprise me, because again, they are both stellar pieces and I cannot recommend these enough. Yes, yes, yes. You know what I'm saying? So I really do appreciate it. So again, these are awesome pieces and I can't recommend it enough. So ladies and gentlemen, I finally give to you the S Plus Favorite Sculptors line Rare Master Collection of both the awesome Aggregate and Perfect form of Destoroyah from its epic appearance from the final film of the illustrious Heisei series, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Yes, yes, yes. So I thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see y'all again. Oh, wait a minute. This is part of the video, or part of the video where I would normally say, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see y'all again on next figure move review. But again, this is the final video. So there will not be any more reviews after this. Wow. It just hit me as I was saying that, you know what I'm saying? So I can't really say what I normally say. But I will say this. Thank you all so much for this journey with me on Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews. My beautiful wife Sandra, my family, my kids, my supporters, everybody I collaborated with, the subscribers, those who have watched my films in passing, or at least my videos in passing, and was not a subscriber, anybody who took the time to watch anything that I've done on YouTube, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, you know what I'm saying? This has brought me a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, you know what I'm saying? There was a purpose for me doing this in the first place, because, you know, I wanted to contribute, I wanted to express myself, and I've had a wonderful time providing this content for y'all. And for those who have stuck with me through all these many years, 10 years, I really do appreciate it. Now, let me emphasize, now I'm not going to shut the channel down. And again, this will be the final review. But kind of like what Kyle did with the Kaiju cast, right? Because he stopped doing, you know, regular episodes on a monthly basis. Because again, he moved on to collect all monsters, right? But every now and then, he still goes back to the Kaiju cast when there's a special need for it, like if there's a new movie coming out or something that really special that's happened, where he would go back and get the old crew back together and fire up the Kaiju cast and talk about whatever needs to be talked about. I'm probably gonna do the same thing, meaning that if something special comes up, like if a new Godzilla film behind Godzilla X Kong, you know, in a few months, if something special comes up or there's a special need for it, I may come back and do like a live stream, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know about that, you know what I'm saying? I never say never, but again, as far as like the regular reviews and content, that will be coming to an end. But you can still see me on Collect All Monsters. I still have duties there and stuff like that, so I'm not going away completely. And I'm open to collaborating with other people on their shows, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not going away completely. I just felt like in terms of the journey I've had here on Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews, 10 years was the perfect way to really give it a proper send-off. So that's what I'm doing. So again, with this being the final review, again, I cannot thank you enough for being there with me. You know what I'm saying? I really, really do appreciate it. And I'm just speechless right now because, you know, we're finally here at the end. You know, there's just no other ways to tell it. You know, it is what it is, you know. But I've had a fun time, and I would not be here if it wasn't for every single one of you awesome people watching me right now, and I really do appreciate it. So again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your comments. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you when I see you. Until then, take care, guys. God bless y'all, and watch Godzilla movies. They're like the best in the world. All right, folks. Deuces!